Hello, everyone. So I'm Janine Kim Cayetano. So I'm a data and geospatial analyst. I work for Catholic Relief Services. I've been with them, I think, since 2014. So I have a background in my bachelor's degree is in geography. I have a master's in GIS. Um, and yeah, I've been working with CRS by supporting the GIS, data analytics, and a bit of machine learning as well in supporting our programs worldwide. So what I'll share with you is I think most of our recent work that relates to GIS and how, yeah, and where we have mostly worked over the past few years. So let me, yeah, turn off my video first and share my screen. Wait, let me just find where it is. Okay, share. So it's actually my first time using Ring Central. So this is a bit new to me. So let me know if you don't hear me at some point. Okay. Oops, that shows. Okay. Yeah, yeah. So I will
Yeah, we're
present
able to hear
this.
you in your screen, so you're good.
Okay, great. Thank you. So my presentation will revolve around data and geospatial analytics for adaptive management. So yeah, I will also send this to Diana, and we could share this presentation with you as well. But first, I want to discuss or touch about what are analytical models. So we actually in CRS we actually call them models because what we are trying to promote in the use of GIS in the humanitarian context is that we tend to use different solution. It's almost the same concept in different situations. So what we want to resolve is to actually recreate new solutions or new tools that give the same um, conclusion as well or give the same results. So our idea is to be able to share this analytical models per se. It's a plug and play models to different humanitarian organizations that work in different sectors so that they can use it and run it for themselves. So that's part of like our goals for this fiscal year and then the next fiscal years to come. So because these models help us to, interpret the data that we collect more strategically and identify those variables and possibly make predictions and visualize the data that we collect. Because oftentimes when, in terms of us working in um, like the technology concept or us collecting data, right? We collect lots of data, millions of data even, but we don't know, sometimes we don't know how to use it. Like after the project, that's it, right? So what does it help our organization or how we use GIS or data analytics models into the projects that we've been working on? So it helps us scale impact through data informed interventions. It also helps show our dedication to efficacy because it helps us to be more adaptive to programming. It helps us better produce reports that is both understandable in terms of like the technical people, like program managers as well as donors, and it increases the use of our data as well. And it helps position Catholic Relief Services as one of like thought leader and keeps us competitive and also, helps us to share our insights to different humanitarian organizations as well. Um, I think I'll keep the like if you have any questions, you can probably put it in the chat and then I'll answer it after the presentation. But yeah, here's the map of our work. So I think this is more or less like a historical work for within 5 years. So we actually work more on like the African region, but we work worldwide. So we have different works like in Asia, but a lot of I think in our case is a lot of the technical background or technical interest, technology interest, usually came from like the African region and sometimes Latin America, especially the use of GIS, by the way. So yeah, I just actually want to introduce our team as well. So we're actually a small team. So our team sits in a broader ICT 4D team. So ICT 4D stands for Information Communication and Technology for Development. And like I've said, we help country programs make the most of the data that they collect by creating dashboards, maps, and performing advanced analytics. And we also build staff capacity to maintain the systems we create. So this is one of the things that I've witnessed throughout working in the GIS um, spectrum in CRS is to not only um, retain the solution on myself, but also to capacitate the programs or the project who've been using it so that they will be able to use that knowledge and do the solution or run the solution themselves. So there's actually three of us that has GIS background, and then we have like three, Yuan Hong, Christian, and Wangari, are the ones that have the machine learning background. The first, Kohera and me have more on the JS background. And also our supervisor has like used to be a JS specialist as well. So yeah, so I've I've actually collated or most of the GIS models that we've created or mainly we used in terms of the projects that we've worked with. So I think I've divided them into three parts. So the first one is models for intervention planning and optimization. This is more or less like the pre-project phase or before we even um, deploy or start the project. So these are like examples of like the GIS models that we've created. So one of them is rooftop counting. So right now we are trying to also introduce to projects the use the widely using satellite imagery because I think what hinders most of our projects with satellite imagery is the cost for sure, right? If we work in a certain place, um, although there are like different humanitarian assistance by satellite image providers, but there's still a bit of cost to it. Or if it's like publicly accessible, the resolution is not that great. So recently, we are working with a partnership with a satellite imagery provider to help us improve more on how we can use these models like rooftop counting. So what it does is we use deep learning within ArcGIS. We actually use ArcGIS and satellite imagery to count the number of households in a predetermined location. So it is mostly used in like in an emergency response context so that we can then get an estimate of the number of people living in the area or probably the affected population as well. So um, actually this is in relation to like the last model that I will show later on. So it saves us time and money by quickly determining the approximate number of participants and location density. So it was deployed in Madagascar, Togo, Uganda, and Nigeria. And then we also have what we call a site selection assessment. I will share you a QR code that will show you the link to our GitHub space. So we've uploaded some of like more of like the technical description on how the model works and how to do it per se. Um, so the site selection assessment helps us to decide on service location utilizing pre-existing data. So in this context, we use it in Madagascar and Haiti by defining where are the best shelter locations based on certain criteria. So in this case, we use the criteria of different hazard, let's say flooding, earthquake. Are there like nearby health facilities, um, road network access, and so on and so forth. So those criteria can be set to create an assessment to determine the best program location. I actually also used this model in my master's degree capstone project, wherein it helps me define like locations that are food security vulnerable to food insecurity. So by using different criteria as well, like for example, like precipitation, same thing, road access. There's also, I think, um, I forgot the land use data. So those things. So yeah, it helps us optimize program sites by considering all relevant criteria. So it doesn't need to be just finding like the best shelter location, as long as you have like a set of criteria, and then you, uh, as we all are familiar with the JS concept of putting like weight distribution, depending on which criteria is we think that has more effect on that certain on the result that we're looking for. And then this two this next two is the first one, household tracking. So this was actually a recent thing that we did with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So we use it for our malaria mass digital health campaign. So we had a countrywide um, distribution of bed net. So we used the satellite imagery, not really the satellite imagery, but we partnered with Maxar's platform called Ethiopia. So they provide building polygons for free for the African region. We use that building polygons to track which, in which areas there are households. So, like if you're familiar with, also, I think if you're familiar with the humanitarian open street map, wherein wherein users can map um, buildings that they find in the imagery. So this has the same context with Ethiopia. Those building polygons can either be residential, commercial, or industrial, but it helps us give an overview of where houses can be probably hard to reach areas, right? So this helps us to track which household we have been visited for the registration, have been missed for the distribution, and it enables us to um, provide follow-up for each household, and it increases participation and ensures that the most vulnerable populations have access to the project itself or program. And this one, walk less, this is actually an old model that we had just um, revamped. So this actually won an award with Esri during the Esri user conference way back in, I think, 2013 or 2014. So we have a project. So whenever you do a project in a certain area or in certain country, so we use this in a project for food aid distribution. So we work with the government, wherein they had to draw. the map using, manually using on how they remember it and define which are the best um, project distribution locations. But we noticed that the participation was just down to 60%. And we noticed that the common answer that the beneficiaries say is that they had to walk like hours just to get to the distribution location. So yeah, we named it walkless model because we use road networks, elevation, um, to create a analysis to suggest where we can put the distribution locations so that people or our beneficiaries would be required to walk less to reach those distribution areas. So it had increased the participation from about like 60% to like almost 90, I think 93% of the total beneficiary count. So, and then the next one would be damage assessment. So this is actually related to the one that I showed earlier, which is rooftop counting. So coupled with the rooftop counting, we also can use deep learning and AI to with satellite imagery to define which buildings have been damaged based on their like before photo and their after photo. So it helps us to provide an overview of the damage sustained and extent of destruction, which helps CRS to plan relief and rehabilitation efforts in the area. So we're actually able to use it in Ukraine before before there was a restriction that was put up to get satellite imagery in Ukraine, but now it's a bit of like a controversial uh, thing going on. So we're not able to do some follow up with regards to damage assessment in this area. So, and then the next one is some of the models that is related for monitoring and strategizing. So this is like probably during the project phase already. So we have um, infrastructure monitoring. So we use ComCare or Red Rose as our data collection tool. So if you're also familiar with a more public data collection tool named Kobo, so we that's also like an example, a good example of it. So we upload pictures and locations of our infrastructure through our data collection tool, and we use an ArcGIS online map, a simple ArcGIS online map with points. This was highly used during the COVID-19 pandemic because not a lot of program managers or even donors are able to go on site due to restrictions. So it helped us monitor the status of infrastructures by communicating with local folks or local field staff using a near real-time map on an interactive ArcGIS online map. So it helps program managers to follow up and prioritize resources. So they can just flag the local field staff to um, see what other improvements needs to be done in those infrastructure. And I think actually this watershed delineation might be on a pre-project phase. I'm not sure I put this here, but basically, this can be used to create a overview of like the watershed resources that could affect agriculture because it helps us highlight problematic areas and create a development plan to monitor and measure project generated changes. So like flood and landslide management. So we deployed this in Madagascar for agricultural farming. And last one, oh, this it's actually a bit fast, but yeah. Anyway, um, I forgot up until what time we have. think we have until, oh, we still have 30 minutes. So, but yeah, so the last one is, I think this is most important in terms of what we do in projects, right? What we tend to actually forget oftentimes is that after the project is, we just disregard what the data that we've collected and we do n- nothing about it. It's just floating around, and because the project has already ended. But what we notice is, why can't we measure the impact we did after the project? So we so this is more on the advanced analytics side. So we combined machine learning and GIS for this. So we have two models. We call it what approach is working best. So through machine learning and spatial analytics, we use the program data that we've collected so far in the project, or yeah, after the project, and provide us insights on what activities are delivering significant change. Activities in terms of, because in terms of a project, you have different activities that you set or that you do in a certain area, and see which activities had provide significant change in the goals that you set early on, and to check how many people we've reached. So because in terms of like the humanitarian projects, we tend to just work on different areas but with the same concept. So it will help us to see which activities might work better the next time we do it in another country, or probably see, I know there would be differences in like some aspects because it will be set in a different country, but it helps us increase program results as well and save time by focusing efforts that have effective interventions. So it was deployed in Madagascar. And then another one is, who did we miss? So this is related to the malaria project that we did. So we use the data as well, using machine learning technology and a hotspot map to use the program data and determine who is showing up for your project or programs and who is not. Give insights on why. So remember the household tracking, right? So um, once the household tracking we use to track if we've registered the participants, as well if we have missed them um, during the bednet distribution. But um, oftentimes what we see on that household tracking is um, the answer to why they are not able to get their distribution, or why they were not being able to be registered, is because of like spatial um, issues or spatial maybe they're like too far away, they were not being able to reach. So this who did we miss model is a combination of that spatial analytics in terms of location, but also in terms of demographic data. So it can help us figure out, other than location, is to see whether maybe they were not redeeming their bed nets is because there was no one around during that time, in a specific date or time. We noticed actually in Benin is that during a certain day of the week, most of the people are, are at work, right? So they tend to receive bed nets better during, like at the end of the week, like probably Friday, um, like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But during the Monday, Tuesday, they tend to be like the busy day of the week. So that's why, yeah, they're not able to claim the bednet. So we can use those demographic data using date, time, and also probably um, demographics in terms of like age, probably gender. So those information can help us visualize everything that we need to visualize other than the spatial component. So yeah, actually this is the last slide. So this is a QR code that you can probably scan. So that will lead you to a GitHub link. It's I would not say that it's already at the best um best looking site right now. So we're trying to work with humanitarian data exchange site to share our operation guidance documents as well because we're still trying to start to coordinate or really communicate with external folks on how we can share these solutions to be used in other organizations, in other work, and other companies for free, right? Because that's the goal is to share these solutions widely. And these models can be adopted for various sectors and niche subject matters. And our team is always looking to expand these models, strengthen the value of this through communication with external people. Like if you have like let's say comments on it, feedback, we would love to hear it from you so that the goal is to really publicly share the solution so that we elevate redoing these types of solution to save us time and effort. Without the need to actually, uh, spend too much just to use it in your projects or yeah, in your daily work. So yeah, that's about it.
Oh, thank you, Janine. Wow, that's great. A lot of material there. Yeah, I did find out for some of y'all listening, I got kicked off thanks to the internet, but there's a sharing audio and video button you can click, and that can let you, that will activate your audio and video if you all want to do that if you haven't already. Um, but are there any questions for Janine? Well, just one I have is for the who did we miss model. I'm just curious what type of demographic data that you use. If that's an easy question.
Yeah, sure. Please give me a sec, and I'll just reshare my screen again. So who did we miss? Um, yeah. Actually, we because whenever we do projects, we tend to collect demographic information in terms of let's say age, gender. Usually this is like the head of household, age, gender. Um, I think the if there's like a vulnerability as well for that certain head of household, or if they're like vulnerable people with the household, so that because for example, let's say the reason that they might not be redeeming their bed nets is because the head of household is away, like at work, but the ones that is left at the house is probably like a pregnant woman or probably a kid, you know. So those are some of the um, like outputs that we saw as well. So if if the household member is working, if the household member lives there, if it's pregnant, those are the types of information in terms of the demographics that we tend to use apart from the time of day as well, or like the day of the week that they um that they claim their bed nets. I hope that answers your question. I know this is actually a lot. I've shown a lot of models. I did not try to deep dive into all of the models because what I wanted to really is to showcase these different solutions and share these solutions with you through the GitHub link as well.
Yeah, thank you, Janine. This is Michael Bishop. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Cool. I'm with Samaritan's Purse. Thank you for the presentation. Really awesome work. Uh, One thing, just housekeeping for, I
Hmm.
think, this is not a question yet. This is just housekeeping for those people that seem to be viewing but haven't shared their audio and video. I think Lauren did mention this. Looks like 8 people, if I get this right, are just viewing and are not participating in the sort of this time where we can ask questions and have answers. There is that button in the upper right that says share audio and video. I think Lauren did mention that, but I just wanted to reiterate that in case anyone else wants to join out of those 8. I had a hard time figuring that out myself, so I had to figure that out. Anyway, question about, you said that you want to share these models more widely, and certainly you're doing that with GitHub. Is there another um, organization or sharing location that you found that is more widely distributed throughout the humanitarian sector, or are you just trying this approach because that's what you found with GitHub, is that's the best place?
Um, yeah, so right now we just use GitHub as of the moment because what we're trying to do is like to be to host this files where we think is the best way to access it. So we found Humanitarian Data Exchange. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that. So Humanitarian Data Exchange is a site where most humanitarian organizations are sharing their data. So right now, I'm actually um, still coordinating with them to set up our like Catholic Relief Organization space and to share it there because GitHub is it's actually not user friendly for someone that's not too technical. Um, so I actually had a hard time uploading a document file in GitHub because it's more of like a programming, set of files you put in there, right? Like a JSON file or probably a Python file. So that's what GitHub is for. But we use it as of the like as of the moment we use it momentarily. But my our goal is to host it in humanitarian data exchange. So wherein we can see that there's a lot of interaction with different humanitarian organizations. So this is not restrictively with humanitarian organizations per se. We are much willing to share it like with universities, schools, private companies as well, publicly.
Yeah, that's awesome. The follow-up question, if nobody else
Mhm.
has a question, is that seems like you've got a very high-powered team there that can do a lot of great work. Um, and obviously you're willing to share. Are you willing to also cooperate with other organizations in kind of developing models in sort of a team approach that is
Mhm.
beyond just your team, or are you just going to go for what you guys know to do?
Yeah, we're actually open to working with different organizations. We actually um, before I think even right now, so we used to work with different universities. Cornell, I forgot the other university we usually have interns for GIS. So we accept interns actually before in the GIS in their GIS department. So
Hmm.
I've trained a bit of GIS students in the past as interns. We also are working with different like even private companies or like consultant companies to work with possible solutions in deploying this. Like for example, like this who do we miss and what approach is working best was actually combined into a much more um how do I say this? It's a much more advanced dashboard wherein we work with I think it was Cornell University um to improve on using this solution towards like measuring indicators for resilience. It's in food secure insecure or food security project that we do in different countries that we work with. We also have like a market monitoring dashboard. So yeah, we work with different sorts of not just organizations, consulting groups. So yeah, we're much open to that because we don't know uh, the answer to every the answer to every problems that we have. So we tend to like really partner with different people that has like specialty on those, as well as we tend to also get capacitate not just um, outside staff. Actually, the two members on our team are actually external consultants. They came from Omdena. Only three of us are actually seated within the Catholic Relief Services staff system. So we partner with a lot of organizations.
Awesome, thank you. Looks like we have another question from the crowd, from Mark Seigan. These are
Mhm,
his questions. He has a few. How do you share the results of your work with your operations staff? One,
mhm.
management. Two, and with people in the field. Three.
Yeah. So basically, on how our system works is that um, we like I've said, we sit in a larger team. It's called the ICT4D team, and then each region has their what we call technical advisors. So that these technical advisors work with each region, with the different countries in each region. They track different projects in those countries or in those regions, and then they coordinate with the program managers and see through on the proposal stage and even in the project phase already to see if there's a need for a solution that needs to use, let's say, machine learning, GIS, any other advanced analytics like natural language processing. So we tend to um, coordinate with this technical advisors and then meet with the project itself, like the management. And then after that, um, we coordinate with more of the operation staff already to see how we can deploy this solution because the goal is part of the work done in doing this model or running this model is for us to be able to capacitate the users in the field. So our goal is to run it if it's because the one of the objectives of this models, by the way, is to run it immediately. Meaning, if we're restricted with time, we're able to get results immediately. Because before we tend to spend like 2 months just to figure out the solution to their problems, and sometimes projects don't have that leisure of time in order to do their activities. So what we did was to have this um, ready-made solutions, run them, and then while we're using that solution or that results from the model is to capacitate the users in the field on how to run it themselves in terms of like the operation staff and then the people in the field. Sometimes you also go there. So we have temporary assignments for our team. We fly to, let's say, for example, me, I flew to Benin for the malaria bed net distribution, did a week workshop there for them to understand how to use the household tracking tool, as well how to manage it, and then yeah, it get deployed again in Sierra Leone after I think after the pandemic because they see that it was really useful, and then we are trying to use it again in one of our um, malaria related projects. So yeah, I hope that answers. We tend to really make sure that we communicate with the field staff, because in order for us to run this model is we need to understand what's happening on the ground. So it's not something like, okay, they just ask for our services or our um, models and we run it, give the results, and that's it. We transition it over all on how, and we create like a documentation on how it was run. So, yeah, I hope that answers your question, Mark.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, anyone else?
Yeah, another question quickly,
Mhm.
Janine. What are the dashboards that we're looking at in this last slide? Is that, I'm guessing Tableau, but I don't think it's Tableau. So
No,
I was just
it's
curious.
Power BI. It's Power BI.
Oh, it's Power BI. Sure enough.
Hmm.
Okay. I don't see Power BI enough these days. Look too much at Tableau. Got it.
Hmm.
Just a general question, maybe it's too general. How long have all these efforts been working, as far as like how long have you used GIS for all these different projects? I guess you mentioned um, the walk study
The
was
walk
done.
test.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
I'm just curious how long. It's probably taken a while to develop all this.
Yes, actually, I mentioned earlier. So I was actually hired to increase the use of JS in CRS. So because Walkless is actually one of the revolutionary solutions that was made by a field staff. It was actually created by a field staff um, through with Esri Consultancy Services. So it was his idea, and then CRS has hired Esri Consultancy Services to make to make it, um, and then from there, CRS realized that the GIS solution is um, really have been like a powerful tool to use. And when I joined it, and I think I joined the headquarters team in 2015. I used to work in the Philippines projects for the Typhoon Haiyan, doing GIS work locally. So when I actually joined in the headquarters um, position, there was actually not a lot of JS work. All the funny thing is, I used to be doing technical JS analytics, but the first job I did was to create like a basic map. Like, okay, I want you to highlight this country and this country just to show where we work. We joke it as like I used to create just where we work maps. That's it. That's all I've been doing for 1 year. And then I started, you know, um, advertising, not really advertising, but promoting on how GIS is much more powerful than just creating those where we work maps or just highlighting countries in a certain map. And yeah, it has increased over the years, and that's why we we are now using deep learning, Python, machine learning, even just to um, strengthen our capacity in terms of like advanced and spatial analytics, data and spatial analytics, geospatial analytics. So yeah, so I think the GIS has revolutionized CRS. Probably, I would say I started doing this advanced analytics probably in 2017 or 2018.
Janina, I had a quick question for you.
Mm-hmm.
So, so the company that I used to run, Innovate Inc., we did a project for Catholic Police Services.
Yes, innovate. Yeah, I remember.
Okay, and yeah, it was to convert data from I think the Salesforce database
Salesforce Gateway.
into
Mm-hmm.
GIS. Are you guys still using that, or whatever happened with that? That was a few years
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah. So we still actually use it, but they have transitioned it in the Power BI space instead of so remember, so we used the ArcGIS Online space for I think about 2 years, but there was limitation in ArcGIS Online because I think what's the Power BI equivalent ArcGIS Insights. ArcGIS Insights wasn't available at that point in time, and the executives are looking more towards than just the maps, but more on like also the data visualizations. So we transitioned that um, data to be read instead of showing in an ArcGIS online map to the Power BI visualization. So instead of just seeing the maps, they're able to see more of like charts, graphs as well. So that's how it has worked or improved through the years. Oh yeah, I remember Innovate. Yes.
Cool. Glad to hear the rest of the story. So thank you.
Mhm.
Are there any other questions or? Well,
Yeah, if there's no questions, I will send this. Oh, is there someone talking? I don't think so. Anyway, if there are no questions, I will make sure to send this presentation to Diana. And there's my email here. If you have any follow-up questions, please feel free to reach out to me um, through my email. Uh, because for sure, if you are to access the GitHub space, I know you will have a lot of questions as it's not, to be honest, it's not the most user-friendly tool to host the documentations that we have. So there's still a lot of improvement going on, but yeah, we will definitely. I can give Diana updates once we've transitioned to humanitarian data exchange as well.
we do record, I know Dan's recording the webinar, so we hope to put that on our website so people can look later at it too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you again for Janine, and we hope, boy, I guess it's late there in the Philippines. Hope you get some good sleep. Anyway,
No
thanks for
worries.
your time to share with us too, and I hope, but it's neat that just appreciate how you make your data, your efforts available to other folks, and yeah, that's great.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, yeah. Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, have a good rest of your day. Bye bye.
Get some good sleep. All right.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye.